live. Okay, here we go. We are rocking and rolling. Zuko is in the background saying hello. Okay, so we're going to use that background on the next shot. And even though it was done in Tahoma, we're going to do the next one in Blender. Okay, so one thing I do see is I would like to quickly make a little bit of a mod to the monkey shot. Right, so here we go. And we got to switch back to this and close up that. Bring up monkey. Yeah, the problem with monkey is he's got no shadow, so let's call this the SHD layer. Alpha lock it. Back to the beginning. Let's see, shadow. We should probably put a blank keyframe there. Probably there would be good. Maybe a little bit in the ears, I guess. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, that's not very clean. Alright, and then that's going to be probably something like that. Okay. Whoopsie. My brush is just a skosh too big. Just a skosh, friends. Just a skosh. Right? Cut to close. Poof. Yeah, this will probably look better if there were a bit of shadow action going on. Alright. I guess we probably should catch the ears here. This all goes by pretty quick, so it's not like you're gonna really notice it too much. Alright. Let's see how that looks. Cool. Okay. Let's double check this. This is this S? Ah, there's your problem right there. How in the world did I manage that? How did I manage to render this without ever having the correct friends? Maybe I'm just moving too fast. 03-93-S, period. Right. Yeah, that's strange. I'll bet you I know what I did. I changed it correct to the correct paths, rendered it, but never resaved. So there we go. Okay, so that's resaved, and now we can move on. Moving on. Alright. Sketch layer. Okay, so this shot, this one's going to have to be done the hard way. This is one of those money shots. And by the hard way, I mean just ink every frame, you know, one at a time. Just do it the old school way. Let's get all the inking done. Then we'll come back and do all the color in a second sweep. And the silhouettes in the foreground, I will not bother with here in Blender. We'll add those over in Krita. And probably add some effects with the glasses to make it look like water is splashing out of them. Okay, so to do this, we need to jump to the old charcoal link, radius of 12, no strength variance, should work. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay, let's go here. I want to zip back a little bit. Oop. Yes, no flaws allowed. Obviously, I could use the... actually, let's do it this way. Let's smooth that. Come on. Okay, stop everything. Lock the sketch layer there, Jack. And what are we doing here? We've got... Okay, so let's see here. I've been live streaming for about 5 minutes, and so the question is, how long did it take me to make a mistake? And the answer is, oh, not very long, friends. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Shift Duplicate, put that there, and then here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this bit here and do something I almost never do, which is hit the E key in edit mode. And I guess I don't want to do that. Okay, undo. That was a bad idea. What I do want to do, I suppose, is bring this down to here and shrink it. Okay. I guess I'll just hit the 1 key to straighten that back up. Okay, so hit the G key. Yeah, no, that probably looks pretty good. This is going to be a little bit higher. Okay, so what I should do is grab this point here and this point here. Oops, not go. Extrude. Extrude that. And then, I guess I need to turn off proportional editing. And actually, you know what? This brings up an interesting thing about Blender. Being that Blender's not a pixel-based program, this is actually going to be a problem. I didn't really think about this till I'm kind of like well into it. But the truth is, since this has no resolution, I can't really chop pieces out of it. So let me just check something here. Probably for now what we should do is just put that there. Extrude one at a time, I suppose. We'll just do that. I can fill in the rest later, but that'll do me, I think. Okay, so now what? Let's just keep rocking. Oops. I totally was intending for Mel to have that that look in his eyes, like golly, what is the character's name in One Punch Man? That's what I was thinking of when I thought about this expression. Stop. Okay, we'll go to camera view here in a minute, make sure these lines aren't going to wind up being too thick, because they definitely could be. Nah, I think we're good. I think we're good. Saitama, that's the guy's name. And I don't like that. I'm not sure I like that either. Split the difference. Wait a minute. Well, he doesn't have dialogue, so I guess it's okay to leave his mouth in there. Hello. Let's try that again. I'm just going to go ahead and turn the stabilizing on permanently for the moment. Whoops. Sheesh. Don't do that, Dave. Okay, so golly, this is where the storyboard is helpful, but I would just say to a newbie who's here to learn, I would say you're generally better off. Yes, it's good to do a storyboard, for sure. However, you should do a fairly complete pencil test if the shot's complicated. This is a complicated shot in the sense that you've got the two characters overlapping each other. There's a lot of stuff going on in the z-axis. In other words, you know, the glasses are out in front. You got the silhouette in the foreground. These guys are in front of each other. It's not like a simple scene where everything is kind of happening on a flat 2D plane. And there really is no shortcut here, but we could hit the old W key here and do that. So I guess I like the tweak mode for the, well, for edit mode. Works great unless your tablet driver hangs on to the mouse after you've let go. Okay. D key. Alright, let's back up. Back up. Back up. Okay, so why the comment about the pencil test? Well, mainly because I have to kind of improv a few things here. Because the silhouette being in place, I never really drew his arms. So I'm going to do my best here to just wing it. And I think if I keep it clear in my mind, I think I can do it. This would come across like that. That's actually not too bad. The only problem is, and this is it's kind of a Blender thing, is like, see how I run that to all the way to the end, but it doesn't actually reach all the way to the end? That kind of harkens back to what I was saying about Tahoma2D earlier. The fill check tool is really valuable for that reason. However, in Blender, of course, you can do what I'm doing right here, which is you can grab a stroke and just move it around. Which is definitely cool. Definitely cool. Okay. So seriously, Dave, are you going to try to draw those hands? I think not. So I'm going to turn that. Well, do I want to turn that back on? Okay, hold on. Stop everything. Stop everything. How is it that I'm in the sketch layer here, and yet it's locked? Okay, because it's just locked. So it's not invisible. It's just locked. Sorry. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm not even going to change materials. I'm just going to block this in. I'm going to do it kind of what would the way be? Who's that guy that writes all the Christopher Hart? He writes all those cartooning books. Kind of do it that way. Do it as simple as possible. so the structure is right, and then it'll be easy to trace over. Those fingers are a little too thick, but basically we're in the ballpark. So sehr gut, sehr gut. This, let's say 1, 2. So here we'll just do the fingers, and we probably should have some indication of the thumb there. Okay, that's cool. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and finish this out a bit. That can be like that. And really we probably just need something like that. We need to see a hint of his shoulder and a hint of his forearm. I think we're good. Okay, so this guy, pretty simple. Okay, so he's got his hand up here. Okay, so great example of what I was talking about. I'm doing all the inking, but because I simply suggested what I was going to have in the storyboard, I wound up inking this when in fact I shouldn't have, because I need to have the hand in over there first, right? So that's what I say. Do your storyboard, but don't follow my example, friends. Don't follow me. Do the smart thing, which is go ahead and finish your pencil test first and make sure it's actually not necessarily a complete rendition of what you're going to animate, but at least it's a complete guide for the ink and paint. Otherwise, you're going to wind up doing a bunch of stuff you realize, oh, I guess I didn't need to do that after all. Gee, I wonder if Zoom went ahead and reset my levels again. Let's find out, just because. Yep, sure enough. It's just insane. It's like, who keeps changing my volume setting for crying out loud? Okay, well that gets us to here. And D-mode, turn the radius back onto uniform. And now we can get back to drawing. And okay, I'm going to hit undo a few times because it's yet another mistake. Okay, stop everything, guys. First of all, I am in the correct layer, but the sketch layer has to be locked once I've got the sketch actually correct. Otherwise, when I go to erase the lines that I need to get rid of, I'm erasing the sketch too, which is like, if you're sitting there going, okay, Dave, that's kind of about as dumb as possible. Yes, you're right. You are not wrong. That's careless. Careless, careless, careless. But this will be a fun shot. This is definitely going to be a fun one. But again, this is one of Blender's weaknesses. You can see it's kind of a disaster actually, in terms of actually having the lines end where they're supposed to. It's kind of a lot harder than you would expect. But I can understand why, because obviously the grease pencil is all operating in 3D space, and there's a lot of stuff that has to get calculated. Right? There's a flaw there. This needs to go to there. And again, as you can see, the line doesn't actually reach, which is not the coolest thing ever. Now, fingernails. Yeah, I mean, we could put in kind of an indication anyway. Okay. All right. Now, not quite that simple. I don't think I'm gonna put the ring of the water there. I mean, actual size is like that. I just don't think that level of detail is that important here. Okay, stop. I'm going to just draw this side of the fingers first. Okay, and then we'll go in and get these bits in there. All right, we're getting there. We are getting there. All right, let's see if anything's going on out there in the world. Hey, Ross. Morning. If you're not making mistakes, then something seriously. That's probably true. I love doing my animatics. I love it too much. As I do then way more detailed for what is needed. It's tricky. It's tricky. My proclivity is to do what I did here, which is tending to have not enough detail. And the reason you can't make a rule about it though, because the problem is a lot of times you can get away with it, you know, especially if there's a lot of action in the scene, you know, because you can't grok out what's taking place in the space of one frame. So the reality is, yes, I have sloppy habits. 9 times out of 10, it turns out it didn't matter. And in fact, the sloppy habits, in a sense, you could almost say are actually making my work go faster, because I'm only giving myself as much hint and guidance, if you will, as is strictly necessary. The trick through this sequence, because as you can see, there's a lot of full animation here. The trick in this sequence is going to be duplicating the frames and keeping as many of the lines in place and repeating from keyframe to keyframe as possible. So I'm not redoing too much. But it's all good. This shot's going to be a nice one, I'm pretty sure, when it's done. I wish Tom was around. I'd tell him I did a shot in Tahoma2D today and was able to successfully make it look basically indistinguishable, for the most part, from the Blender version, which is kind of good. I was just getting myself back into Tahoma a little bit, just because it is absolutely the case that the plastic tool can come in quite handy. But this shot, because I already had it storyboarded, and essentially it is full animation, which is kind of unusual in Blender, I figured, well, I'll go ahead and finish it here. I would prefer to just be agnostic. In other words, 9 times out of 10, I don't care if I'm doing it in Blender, Krita, or Tahoma. As long as the software tool isn't, you know, giving me stupid problems that frustrate me, which often, of course, does happen, then I'm pretty agnostic myself, honestly. I don't care what the tool is as long as it works. That's my opinion, anyway. And by the way, I reserve the right to bail any time. I have no idea how long I'm going to be working on this evening. Could be long, could be short. Depends on what other things come up in the meantime. Well, if we finally get sick of all the craziness over here stateside, Ross, you think is New Zealand a good place to go? If the USA is getting too crazy, is New Zealand a good destination? I have literally no idea. Because it's getting pretty crazy over here. All the things that some people warned us about, turns out they were mostly correct. Okay. All right, his mouth we're going to leave because, and by the way, at this point, we probably should solo the layer. I haven't used Tahoma2D for quite some time, correct. But, I mean, there's the shot. I mean, it came out really nice, actually. So, and it's actually why I was thinking about repurposing this shot for that one, because of the way he leans in and stuff fits the next shot really well. But I also noticed some weird things. Actually, Ross, since you're a Tahoma guy, you might be able to answer this. One of the things that was confusing me, and it could be a Tahoma 1.5 thing, I don't know. But what happened was, unless I'm seriously remembering wrong, it always used to be the case that if you change the scene length, either manually or by adding frames, you know how it intelligently sort of expands as you add keyframes and whatnot. So I'm pretty sure that traditionally this would dictate, this is going to be what's going to render. Period. That's it. Wherever this is, that's what renders. Now what we have is a very strange state of affairs, as far as I can see. This does not dictate what renders, and I have no idea what this is, where it switches from light to dark. I have no idea what that means. I can't figure out what that means. And the weird part about this scene was when I checked the render output settings, neither one of those demarcation lines was correct. Now I have changed this manually to 64, but this was reading as 48. So it was rendering to 48, yet you've got this light to dark transition at 46, or maybe earlier. It might have been at 42 or something earlier. But so you've got this, and then you've got what's going to render, and then you've got the length of your scene. They used to be, everything used to be tied to this. So it was wonderful because you didn't have to think about it. If I expand it out to 64, by gum, it's going to render 64 frames. This is not true anymore, apparently. And do you know what this is? Why does it switch from light to dark here? Like, what is that? I have no idea. Okay, so if you're looking for money, then you're better off in Australia. But then you'd have to live in Australia. Right. What do you mean looking for money? I mean, golly, let's see. The reality is that most of my clients I've never met. They are not within, driving distance of me. And of course, with cartoon royalties, it doesn't matter. So as far as my lifestyle goes, it doesn't matter where I am at all. In fact, the only thing, what we don't want to do is disrupt. I don't even know if I want to get into this on YouTube. I guess I'll just say it briefly. Valerie does have a medical condition, so her coverage and all that is pretty good, and so that becomes a constraint for her, because changing anything at all can be extremely disruptive. And I saw it happen years ago. This was pre-Obamacare, where just, at the whim of the insurance company, she could get quite hosed in a hurry, as a lot of people in America are. I mean, you think about insulin. What if you needed insulin? It used to be $85 a month or something, and now it's like $1,200. And that's how wonderful it is. It's how great it is to privatize everything, because if you privatize everything, like prisons, for example, of course you're going to have better service, lower prices, better quality. That's the myth. And it is so easy to prove that everything about that mythology is false. Everything about it. But we're not the brightest. We're not the brightest, what do we want to say, bulbs on the tree here in the US of A. I've used, OpenToonz. I mean, Okay, okay, it doesn't have that light thing. The length of the rendered scene is determined in render settings. Well, kind of. I mean, it's really determined. I mean, I guess it would be render, but it's technically called output settings here. Maybe it's different in OpenToonz, I guess. But yes, and I of course I will agree that this I believe overrides. If I manually set this, then it doesn't matter how long my scene is. This is what will render. So it could be that that was what caused the issue. Instead of starting a blank scene and letting Tahoma2D sort of grok out how long it is um, based on this, because as you know, when you're getting into a new scene, what happens is it just keeps expanding as you add stuff and build out the scene. So maybe that's the issue. I still have no idea why this transition from light to dark. It's new. I have no idea what it is. I've never seen it or noticed it before. It's just weird, you know. What the hell is that? Not a clue, friends. Not a clue. Okay, so let's say here. Okay, so we have a lot of keys. What we want to do here, probably this would be my best advice, is make a duplicate, sculpt what you can, then start erasing liberally to clean things out and then repatch it back together. That's what I'm thinking. So what do I mean by all that? Okay, first thing, oops, okay, that's not what I wanted to do. I forgot I was in tweak mode, so www. Okay, so I'm going to grab the stuff that ostensibly is going to move potentially, like this. Go back into sculpt mode, and in this particular case, okay, stop everything. That's a mistake, yet another boo-boo. I gotta click this first. Okay, stop everything again, yet another mistake. This would be not connected only. Okay, but okay, so there's no interpolation with the okay. I get it. Guess this is the risk you run. Putting it's always a little dicey when you have two characters in the same scene. It is always a little tricky. So, for those who are more experienced, like you, Ross, don't get too frustrated with me yet. Don't start screaming at your screen. The problem is that in the animation space, there are almost always ways to like optimize or do something quickly. And then every once in a while, every so often, what you thought would be quick turns out to be a lot slower, actually. And sometimes it's hard to predict which it's going to be. Okay, so getting back to what I said was the methodology here. I'm going to say, I guess we'll keep that guy's garment, but basically this all needs to go. I want to redraw him. So let's get rid of those points. And I can see now that I've done that, that this probably should go. Okay, and then because of that, I can actually do a little bit of a sculpt here with that, so that's fine. This could maybe be tweaked a little bit. Okay, and then the rest I'll redraw. So of course I got to get rid of this hand here as well. So back to edit mode. I'm going to select the hand as best I can. Hit select linked. Delete those points. X strokes. Okay, cool. So now we go back into draw mode and we can add that. Yeah, so that gets us pretty close to where we want to be. Alright, sculpting wise, I guess I want to move that over even more. And now we can get busy on this guy in his new pose. And again, this is one of those things that everything I'm doing on this shot, kind of unusually, is pretty much the slowest way possible, which is literally redraw every frame for the most part. Not completely, but... And in this case, because of the nature of the shot, it probably will turn out that that's actually the fastest way to get this one done. There's just no good shortcuts. It's a real literal trade-off, you know, between more production value because of more animation and speed with which you can, you know, knock shots out. I don't want to be too obsessed with speed, because it is true that it often turns out that the slower you move, the faster you get things done, actually. Mainly because you make fewer mistakes. As I said the other day, we never quite have time to do it the slow way, but yet somehow we always have time to do it over. Right? It's pretty much proverbial. Pretty much proverbial, friends. Okay. So I said I was going to leave his mouth out of it, so yeah, that's cool. That worked. Boo-doo-boo, boo-doo-boo, boo-doo-boo-boo. So we'll deal with the niggly little color details later. Put it off, I say. Leave it for the grunts. We don't care. Okay, so this would be like that. And now we need to get this. Boom. And I tend to do hands this way when something's animating fast. Meaning not animating fast, but I mean moving fast. I tend to make the hands a bit of a clump and just give a little more attention once the hands settle down into a pose that the audience is actually going to see for a couple seconds or something, then you want to take a little more care. Okay, so that should be like that, because obviously this guy's got these little wristband dealies, and I just botched that because my stylus is covering up. I literally can't see what I'm doing because of my stylus is in the way, so that's why I did that. Really, this part bugs me though. The way I keep running a line right to a tangent, and then I let go and it always turns out it's not quite far enough. That's actually becoming a bit of a sticking point for me, to where I'm far enough into the Blender adventure, let's say, that I'm starting to see some of the reasons why keeping Tahoma and obviously Krita, you know, ready and available in the toolbox is good policy. Definitely. Okay, I think that's okay. Okay, and now I am going to, gosh, I think what I'll do is just see if I can sculpt this pretty much into place, just because if I can. Well, it's less inking, that's for sure. The main issue I'm seeing is right here. His chin is starting to fall apart. Again, we're still in motion, and okay, so that's where it stops. Now that's an interesting, what did I do here? Once he gets to here, okay, so he really, I'm going to just have to redraw him there. Jeez, oh Pete. So I'm going to do that just so it inserts a keyframe, and then delete all of this. I'm just going to delete it all. Get rid of it. I'll come back and put it back in later, obviously on this particular frame. This doesn't do me any good, but, notice I could, curse you, turn that off. But what I can do is hit the S key, scale the hand, and actually reuse it back here. Okay, so I tell you what, I could fuss around with the fact that this is bumping into Mel, or I could say, well, as long as I've got that problem, why don't I just happen to notice if maybe there's another way I could play the pose. Not to be too lazy, but okay, so here we have the same issue. On this one, so this is kind of an interesting little optimization I didn't really realize I was going to get. And what I did before will not work, but that's okay. We'll make the adjustment to Melchizidek here in a minute. So what I need to do is scale this a bit, go way back here. Now you could argue about the pose of the hand, but I don't see as it much matters since it actually is going off the screen. But now let's see here. We've got, yes, we got this one right here. And so let's go ahead and fix this now because it's starting to become like problem after problem. There we go. Problem solved. Okay, so now we can put this up here. You know, we'll just reuse what we can, and then this will obviously be insert a blank keyframe because that actually cuts to behind him. Okay, so there we got that. And what we need to do here is grab this, select linked, go, rotate, slightly shrinkage. Okay. Then what we need to do is get rid of these, get rid of the strokes. That we'll just have to redraw. Okay, cool. So now we're in cleanup mode. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. This is not. Okay. D key. Oh my. Yeah, I have to say it's becoming more of an issue. The inherent inaccuracy of the brushes are often not a problem, but when they are a problem, they seem to be a problem like a lot. But it's just something to keep in mind for downstream here a bit. Okay, this bit here, let's just get rid of those strokes and redraw them. Because, oopsie, we don't want to hit the B key, we want to hit the D key. So it could be, you know, just remember to overshoot, which is what I just did, and it worked. That's probably pretty good. Okay, and let's draw this. Boo-doo-boo. Okay, so now we could, of course, we could steal this. So let's try. We might as well. There's no harm in it. So Control C, come back here, hit Control V, shrink it down, rotate it around, go to here, size it up so it fits. Little rotation. And I have to say that looks like it's probably okay. D key. Okay, so now we go boonk, boonk, a boonk, a dunk, ba-dunk, dunk, dunk, ba-dunky dunk, boonk, ba-dunk, ba-dunky dunk, dunky dunk, dunk, doo doo doo. Okay, this guy does have. Wait a minute, stop everything. No, no, no. I'm hitting undo over and over, and Blender's taking like forever to notice and undo. This guy does not have. That's just sloppiness on my part. Putting that, you know, this band on his shoulder, which he does not have. The guy doesn't wear that, and yet for some stupid reason I put it in there like a doofus. So, well, it just goes to show that I'm only human after all. Hey Tom, doing art. Do you were you here earlier when I asked the question? With the Old Zealand, what happened to the Old Zealand though? Did that mean the Old Zealand thought? Did it sink? Yeah, okay, so I was asking, I'm wondering if you know this. Something I noticed in Tahoma2D that seems to be new either with 1.5 or it's something I'm doing wrong. Okay, so here's the caveat is that I did do this shot in a slightly different order where I did in fact set my output settings at one point. Okay, so keeping that in the backdrop. It used to be that as I built a scene out and it just grew, this would of course extend the play range, and whatever you would render would be this. So my question is this. Number one, this is the first time that I can ever recall seeing a clear disconnect between the length of the scene and what renders. So this was not rendering 64 frames. It was rendering 48, and that was what was locked in the render settings, even though Tahoma dynamically changes that, you know, as your scene grows, as you know. So I'm wondering about that. And the other thing that I find a little strange is I have no idea what this is. Why does this go from all lighter colors, and then at frame 46 and 47 it switches to darker, and I have no idea what that is or what that means. So and I thought it was really weird, because I was like, for a period of time earlier this afternoon, I've got this line here, and I've got this as the length of the scene, and yet what was rendering was through 48, which isn't reflected in either one of those. So I just thought it was really strange. The settings and outputs don't update to the timeline. Okay. Okay, so if you grow your scene dynamically and you let Tahoma manage it behind the scenes at all times, then it'll probably behave in the way that I expect. So in this case, because I did actually go in and change the output settings at some point, this takes precedence. I can understand that. I can respect that. What I also found is, if you like the fact that it updates dynamically, and you make the very foolish mistake of ever changing anything in here ever, even once, you're done. That's it. No going back. Because I tried just deleting stuff out of here. Like, let's just zero this out or hit backspace or something. And it didn't work. What it did was what it just did right there. It just locks it that it's gonna render from frame 1 to frame 1, and that's it. So it's a one-way street. Once you've overridden it, you don't get to have that working in the background for you anymore. If that's the way it is, I can live with that, because usually that is how I work. But anywho, did you that mark on the timeline is for preview play. Well, okay, I can accept that. How does one change that, though? Like, I mean, in fact, I don't actually even know what you mean by preview play. I mean, obviously, if I play it back, it's playing this full range. So we could have a semantic problem here. So what I'm considering the end of the scene and what you're calling preview play, I used to think, well, this is the end of the scene, but it's also the preview play, because when I hit play, it always plays to here. So for me, I'm like, was something new introduced? And I just don't know the terminology yet. And I don't have a model in my mind for why this is a good idea. It could well be the best idea ever. I don't know. But I'm not seeing it yet, so I was just kind of wondering. That's how it always worked for me. Designed for pre-planning versus auto-update. And I always use the auto-update mode. I create a blank scene and I just start drawing the pencil test. And it grows and I work out the timing. And then when I go to ink and paint, it's just grown to wherever it's grown to, and that turns out to be what I use. And by the way, as I render and whatnot, if this changes, it also, at least from what I can remember, it would always update. But that play in the viewer is not linked to the output settings. That play in the viewer. Oh, you talking about this? Well, it can't be that. It's not the only thing I could interpret as what you mean by quote unquote play in the viewer would be this, but I just hit it and it played all the way to 64. So clearly that's got nothing to do with this lighter to darker. Output settings is final render. Timeline range is for preview and working. Okay. Unfortunately, that doesn't really help me, because I already knew that and have known it for 5 years. That's the way it's always worked. So I kind of knew that you only update this manually if you're really determined to tell it what you want the output range to be, because once you once you set that, there doesn't seem to be any going back, and that's seems a little misguided to me, but what do I know? I'm sure others probably use it and thinks it's totally intuitive and works great and no problem. So I just wouldn't have a clue, frankly. Anyway, I guess I'll just live with that one for now. Okay, so back to work. Yeah, we got this. Okay, so this dude is raring back. And I guess we should put a few wrinkles in here. And now we gotta try to nail this on the first try. We'll see if I can swing it. Okay, that's a bad tangent. That's a bad tangent, friends. I'm gonna actually, I'm gonna erase. In fact, I'm not even gonna just erase. I'm gonna take this, get rid of that completely. That's a bad tangent. Okay, so this is Mel's arm, so we should just cut that there. This, honestly, we probably could just leave this all the flesh tone, and that's gonna be kind of in a bit of a shadow anyway, so it's probably no big deal. Okay, so here, I'm gonna mark that. Yep. Mark that, so something like that should be good. Yep. Boom and boom. There's that. Okay. Groovy. And none of the lines I draw actually reach their destination. Grr. Grr, my friends, grr, I say. What do we got next? Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is going to be his big ol' hand smacking Melchizedek on the back. And, of course, this can just be like that, as long as it's got closed shapes. We're good. Oh. Smack. Okay. Guess that was a mistake, but that's alright. I'll just redraw it. And this time, I guess I need to be a little bit more meticulous. And such a good example of precisely what I don't want to do. Okay, so let's just see if we can fix this. Can we deal with this by maybe just turning the screen around? Maybe. Worth a try. Okay, but then at this point, okay, yeah, I wanted to switch back here so that I see where the hand actually runs off the screen, and I guess just for kicks and giggles we'll put the little wristband thing in there. And finally, this actually looks about as stupid as can be, and yeah, definitely not in the optimal frame of mind at the moment, probably because it's late in the day. Late in the day, my friends. But I kind of felt like I wanted to try to get one more shot done, so. Do 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 do. Oh, fingernails. Yeah, fingernails. Sort of fingernails. Bloop bloop bloop. Okay, let's see what we get here. And boop. Okay. Now this is interesting because this is effectively this shot. Yeah. So I'm going to take this. Actually smack that out of there. Grab this, move it downstream, and then completely remove this guy from the shot. This is only on the screen for one frame. At least I'm pretty sure. And let's see if that gets rid of everything. Yep, pretty much. Not exactly everything, but mostly everything. Okay. Smack. Boom. Not bad, not bad. Like the way it's looking. Okay, and now, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna try to. I'm just gonna redraw the guy. I'm just gonna redraw the guy. Whoa! In the comments, the old Zealand is still in the Netherlands. Oh. You might want to work on a part of the timeline, so you set start and stop markers for that, independent of the full. Oh. Well, okay. So, yeah, the way I've always done that in practice is I just move this around. I've always, if I'm just going to want to work a limited range of the shot, or the scene, or the sequence, however you want to say it, I just move that around. It does seem to be emerging across the board. Krita, Blender, Tahoma, it doesn't matter. I would have to say with the volume of work I'm doing, in my experience, I would say across the board, the whole idea of putting multiple animated shots in a sequence, all in one like scene, as it were. I'm doing it. I've been doing it for a while here. I do think it's pretty much bad practice. It seems like everything's a little cleaner, crisper, less, things don't get all cloggy and bloggy in terms of performance, and everything we're talking about you wouldn't have to deal with at all, obviously, because all that's in your timeline is one shot. I think that's probably proving to me to be a better way to work. And that goes for Blender too, even though, I mean, I'm on frame, what is it? I'm up to frame 2000. So yeah, obviously this is a fairly lengthy shot. But, I mean, I've been getting away with it. But the way I used to do it, I'm kind of missing it, I have to admit. I'm kind of missing it. I'm missing the clean simplicity of just dealing with one shot at a time. And then, of course, in Krita, what I do is I just load up the shot that, if I'm building on one shot to create a new one, I just load up the old one and just change whatever needs to be changed and just go forward from there. Seems to work pretty well. I mean, the extreme would be jumping into Vegas and saying, okay, let's just literally use the same shot twice but put it in reverse or something like that. And I've gotten a lot of mileage out of those types of techniques as well. So there's no one true way, honestly. But as far as what seems to work for me, well, I had the same thing go with a commercial project that was a animation thing. I was working on this last month or so. Same exact situation where I had multiple, what you would call a finished animated shot. It's going to be used in a mobile app. I'd have the shot. Oh, I'm thinking there were probably 25 shots within a single Blender timeline. And it didn't take long before I regretted it. It did not take long before I'm like, okay, the amount of time I'm spending like jumping between layers or putting in new layers that are exceptions to the rule, like this one is, utility character stuff. That's when you've got some prop that it doesn't, fit neatly into the, let's call it the character or layer. I'm talking gibberish because my whole brain just derailed because I'm sitting here trying to sculpt this and literally nothing's happening and I didn't know why. Okay, I'm on the wrong layer. So that's oh yeah, because I'm smoothing it now. I'm not sculpting it. Duh. Friend, know which tool you've invoked. Know which tool you've invoked, or you'll be sorry in a multiplicity of ways. And that, my friends, is a fact. You will be sorry. Okay. So this guy's a little muscular, but I think I kind of chimped him on his forearm there. Friends. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to wrap up soon. I am so not in the zone right now. As I say, I've done quite a bit of work on this today. And I'm not really enjoying this too much. Which is, it's kind of stupid to keep cranking on it if it's not really too much fun. Not that fun is everything, but I don't know. Putting in 2 hours in the zone where it is fun and you're enjoying racing and you're enjoying trying to be meticulous and you're enjoying the creativity of it and the storytelling and it's making you laugh. When you're in that zone, you're going to get more done in 2 hours than you're going to get done in 4 when you're in the wrong frame of mind. I absolutely am totally convinced that that's true. Yes, you can put a gun to my head and force me to do it. That is true. I can discipline myself. But I have found generally in life, it's not that useful. All it does is wreck the lived experience of it and leaves a little bit of a negative taste in your mouth for no good reason. The only thing, in other words, what you want to ask is, well, what would the good reason be? If there was a good reason, what is it? Well, the good reason would be that you got either a really respectable volume of work done, or it looks really, really good, and you're excited about what you did, and blah, 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 blah. And what I'm saying is, in practice, that almost never happens when you're in a sour, kind of frame of mind. So, but there's a balance. I mean, there's a balance. There's a lot of us out there that really need to just learn to buck up and be disciplined. So there is that point. It's a very valid point for many people. I don't really fall under that purview at this moment for the simple reason that I did, in fact, work on this all day. Right? It's not like I'm just starting here and going, oh, I just don't feel like it. That's not what we're talking about. Okay, so he smacked him. Let's see. Did he smack him? Boom! Oh, yeah, that's pretty. Okay. I say we, boop, just kill everything. I could go back and paste this guy in with a little bit of a shift, but I don't know. I probably, frankly, need to practice drawing him. So, what do you think? Should we put in like that? I think so. I think that'd be good. And what do we have? Yeah, we've got, actually, I'm going to go ahead and put these other keys in here too. I'm going to get these eye keys in just to get the sense of the motion so I can look at the whole thing. And then I think I'm going to wrap up for this evening. Whoops. Sorry. Got to be a little bit rounder there, Jack. A little bit rounder. Boy. Maybe this is not really working for me that well. Let's kill that. This is kind of annoying me. That's what I mean about not being in the zone, because I feel like this is all being a little harder than it normally is, you know? Kind of weird. Kinda weird, friends. Kinda weird. Is that it? I guess that's it. So, not that much to do. But let's go back to shift left arrow and just look at how the flow of this is rocking. Boom! Looks pretty good. The big guy, obviously not having his mouth inked in there, it looks a little stiff and winky, but I think once this is all done, it's going to be looking pretty good. Boom. I like it. Okay, so unless there's like a really important question out there on the... I was using a technique of markers to select frames from the timeline. Always had to then type numbers into the output settings. Yeah, and I just have to say, I don't... by the way, your 614, the vertical lines, question mark, I'm not really sure what you're referring to there. Are you asking me what I was talking about? I'm talking about this right here. Which you said was the preview range, unless I misunderstood your comment. And when you were talking about the preview range, you were actually talking about this. What was confusing me is the X sheet switches from a light green to a dark green, light pink to a dark pink here, and I just absolutely have no idea why. I don't know what that represents. So if you were talking about that, nothing I saw when I tested it seemed to match what you were saying, because if that was the preview range, I have no idea what I would do or what I would click to actually have it preview, quote unquote, up to this frame. Like, I don't know where that would even come from. Seems to match up with last keyframe. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's all it is. It's just a cue to tell you, hey, by the way, Dave, your last keyframe was on that. You know, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Doesn't strike me as mega useful, but then again, it's not particularly harmful either. I was just confused by it. So, you know, what are you going to do? You weren't commenting on the light or dark. Okay, yeah. So we never actually got around to that. We're actually just guessing. Move the key and see if it updates. Good idea. Good idea. Let's take this key right here and move it down. Yep, that seems to be what it is. That does seem to be what it is. So I guess it's just a visual cue. And yeah, like I said, not the worst thing in the world. I was just wondering what it meant. So unfortunately, I am out of gas. What time is it? It's 6:30. I guess it's not surprising that I'd be out of gas. What have we accomplished today? Well, let's find out. Let's see, working backwards. We got this. This is actually a rehash of an earlier shot. This is the one I did in Tahoma2D, which... Did I freaking do that today or yesterday? I don't even remember. I think I did it today because it looks to me like I've done 17 seconds today. Seems like when I don't like really burn it hard and just kind of put in a normal day, which probably comes out to about 3 hours of actual focused animation work, I guess. I don't know. But something like that. That seems to yield about 17 to 20 seconds consistently. So it kind of comes out to about 5 seconds an hour, if the truth be known. So there was no voice, no mic apparently. Hey, Radis was live streaming. Who's Radis? Never heard of Radis. Yeah, what's Radis? Enlighten me, friends. What's a Radis? He does a very clean style of animal animation using Radis animates. I'll select that in the comments and jump over to YouTube and search for Radis animates. Huh. Okay, that's an amazing thing. That is an amazing thing. What's amazing, you ask? What's amazing is that Google is... Google, you know, I mean, Gemini's going to revolutionize our life. Everything's going to be so amazing because of AI. And it's AI everywhere, and boy, we're using it to get better search results and blah, 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 blah. And yet, I can put in the name of the actual channel, or like, how do you screw this up? And I don't see... These might be Radis Animate Shorts, but there's no indication of that. And everything that comes up as regular YouTube is... None of it's that. So am I missing something? Oh, he posts on Darren's Discord. All right, I'll check it out. Yeah, it's one of those visceral gut things where you keep saying to yourself, you know, I know this is really amazing, and I know search results are better than ever. And I actually see it frighteningly. I see it on DuckDuckGo, where I do a search, and even there, the first half dozen things that come up are all purchased. You know, they're all bought. Everybody's just buying their position in search. It isn't a search engine. I don't see Google as a search engine anymore. Actually, it has become. If you're willing to go to page 2 and 3, then it kind of still is. But literally, the whole front page of results of anything is people buying their place in line. It's like, to me, that's not really a search engine, right? Is he a member of my Discord as well? Cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. Radis Animates. That's always fun stuff. But I think I'm done. I'm gonna call in my chips, cash in my chips for tonight. Reattack it when I'm feeling fresh. Run a backup. This I'm quite happy with, because this came out looking visually almost indistinguishable from what I had done in Blender, and I was happy to see that. And by the way, to both Ross and Tom's credit, I have to say, if you look back at the whole 3 episodes of the show, some of the best stuff in all 3 episodes came out of Tahoma2D. No question about it. And, you know, I would normally say Plastic Tool's the killer feature, but right now, honestly, this is what I think is the killer feature. The killer feature in Tahoma2D is this. The killer feature, hello? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in, okay, let me undo that. The killer feature is actually that. I used to use it a lot, and I have to say, if you really look at the metrics and you know that if in a real animation job, most of the time is lost to ink and paint, then the fill check tool actually becomes an amazingly cool tool, because it lets me know when I'm doing ink that I do in fact have closed lines. And when I did the fill operations on this scene, the fills went really quickly because I hit it all with the fill check tool first. So does that mean I'm going to be spending a little more time in Tahoma going forward? Not necessarily, but you know, hint hint, I probably am. Because it was a good experience, you know. I mean, it was good. The only thing I didn't enjoy so much was some of the, it's kind of hard to dial in the interpolation on the vector levels in terms of the smoothing and the accuracy, and just finding the balance so that what it puts on the screen is exactly what you drew, but yet it doesn't have an inordinate number of like little tiny wiggles, you know, that come from just sort of noise in the driver, which is a common problem. I mean, it's not a fault of any particular software, but anyway, okay, that's it, guys. I am getting out of here, cashing in my chips for the evening. Hope you guys have a good one. Ross, have a good day. I know it's morning in New Zealand, I think. And as you guys know, I'll check out Radis Animates, and as you guys know, there will be more later. Catch you next time. Boom.